Iran stated essentially that if they were attacked, that they would go after U.S. personnel and facilities. That would be a huge strategic mistake. That's one of the reasons why I think Secretary Rubio made it clear that this was a unilateral attack by Iran, not by the United States. So they would be drawing the United States into a conflict that they're already having with Israel. So they would be fighting a regional superpower, if you will, plus us. So I don't think they will, hopefully they will have better ideas and not do that. But if they did, I think we have done everything we can to mitigate that threat, to get people out that don't need to be there, and of course, bring in air and missile defense systems, which is the most likely way they would attack us to defend these positions.
Mick, I don't want to go back to Eisenhower and the Shah or to 1979 either, but the absolute memory of pros like you is the absolutely stunning war on the border of Iraq and Iran in Iran in the 1980s. That colors everything about Persia, about Iran. They don't have that capability for large war like they did in the middle 1980s, do they?
They do not. And of course, this is after multiple attacks by Israel on Iran that have been mitigating their air and missile defense systems, their ability to launch cruise missiles, ballistic missiles, and produce them. So this is something I think Israel took the opportunity to mitigate, not just their nuclear facilities. Let's remember, that's what we're talking about. But they also went after their ballistic missile launch sites, manufacturing centers, air bases, military bases, and essentially eliminated their entire general staff. So Major General Bagheri on down. Essentially, their Joint Chiefs of Staff and the entire staff was eliminated, plus most of their senior nuclear scientists. They took every opportunity with this and say it might actually last up to 2 weeks. So this might not be over.
Mick, let's talk about timing. Why do you believe Israel acted now?
So there's some speculation they were concerned about the agreement that the United States and Iran looked like they might be willing to agree to, which would have been very similar, at least from what we see in reporting, as the 2015 JCPOA, the one that the United States unilaterally withdrew from in 2018, and something that I think Israel found to be unacceptable. It would have allowed some type of enrichment in Iran to continue. Some would say that that's why they did it. There might have been intelligence. I'm not aware of it, but of course, because I don't have access to it, that they were getting closer to a nuclear weapon, and that was the trigger point for Israel. But certainly, I think the United States would have rather seen a nuclear agreement, a new one, that both parties could agree to, Iran and the United States, rather than see this escalate into what could be a long-term conflict that could continue to escalate.
Mick, what does this say about the role of the United States in this region at this particular time? We know the Trump administration was pushing for a diplomatic resolution and maybe a nuclear deal, and there were planned talks this weekend, and then this happened. So what does that say about the U.S. role here?
So I agree. I agree with the premise that this was something the U.S. did not want to see. They wanted to see a nuclear agreement that would have been acceptable to us, perhaps slightly better for us than the 2015. So politically, it would have landed well. But that's unlikely to happen now. The Amman meetings that were set for Sunday are completely off, and there's literally no chance that we're going to get back to that place. In fact, Iran made it clear that if their facilities were ever attacked, that they would spend all of their effort trying to get to a nuclear weapon. So that's another concern that we have. The United States, of course, does not want to see another war start in the Middle East. That's not in anybody's interest, certainly not the countries of the Middle East. So hopefully we can play a role that de-escalates this as quickly as possible.
Right.
One way to do so, of course, is to protect Israel if they see a large amount of incoming missiles and drones like they saw back in October.
We welcome all of you across the nation. With us now, Mick Mulroy. Rebecca Patterson will be with us here in a bit. Again, our team led by Ethan Bronner in Tel Aviv, monitoring each moment of this. We've had reports recently of continued attacks. We'll have to get more verification of that. Mick Mulroy, I have a presidential tweet in front of me. It is too long to waste time with, precious time with, I should say, but to end the presidential tweet, Iran must make a deal before there is nothing left. and save what was once known as the Iranian Empire. No more death, no more destruction. All caps, just do it before it's too late. God bless you all. With great respect from the arc of Dwight David Eisenhower out to President Obama, Mick Mulroy, do we have a coherent Middle East policy at this moment?
It does not appear that we are actually running the show when it comes to this, unless one believes that this was to force Iran to the table. I think that's very unlikely. This was a complete disaster for Iran. They have been shown that they have almost no ability to defend themselves. For them to then come to the table and come to an agreement with the U.S. would be the ultimate humiliation. They will have to respond to this attack, and they will likely not want to have any discussions going forward. They've made it clear that they now will try to get to a nuclear weapon. The U.S., of course, will always play a key and vital part of the Middle East. It is in our own interest to do so. And I think ultimately, if we can get this back on track, it would be in our interest, as well as Iran and all the countries in the region, to have a diplomatic resolution. And if that means a new nuclear agreement, that would be good. It's very difficult to see how we can get there from here right now.
Mick, within Iran, do we have a sense of, you mentioned the senior leadership was dealt a big blow in this attack here. How about just the leadership, the political leadership in Iran? How stable is that, given this really a surprising attack here?
Well, this is one of the reasons why I think Prime Minister Netanyahu came out and said this was the time. This was the time for the Iranian people to rise up against the Iranian regime, which has done nothing to help them because of their near continuous desire to be at constant war with their neighbors. Of course, they support all the proxies that continuously attack not only Israel, but the United States. Up until 9/11, Hezbollah was the biggest killer of Americans, the biggest terrorist organization killer of Americans. So they caused this, and now it's come home to roost, so to speak. Whether they can change that in Iran, this is their opportunity. The leadership has been decimated. They are obviously in very dire economic situation. We'll have to see. It has to be organic, I think, for it to take hold. But they are in a very bad place, and we have to see whether they even have the capacity to strike Iran. That is unclear.